Linda's hand was shaking when she grabbed my wrist. "Mr. McLeod, please don't sign that yet, please." I looked up from the papers spread across my kitchen table, confused. My daughter, Claire, sat across from me, pen frozen in midair, her smile suddenly rigid. My son-in-law, Marcus, standing by the window, turned slowly to face us. "Linda," Claire's voice was ice. "This is a family matter. I think you should check on the laundry." But Linda didn't move. Her grip on my wrist tightened. She was 55, a Filipino-Canadian woman who'd been caring for me since my heart attack 6 months ago. In all that time, I'd never seen her look frightened, until now. "Mr. McLeod," she whispered, "I need to show you something. In the other room, right now." The way she said it made something in my chest tighten. Not the heart thing. My doctor had cleared me 3 months back. This was different. This was instinct. The same instinct that had kept me alive during 30 years of working on oil rigs in northern Alberta. "Excuse me a moment," I said, standing up. Claire's face went from porcelain white to angry red in seconds. "Dad, we've been planning this for weeks. Marcus took time off work. We have the notary coming in 20 minutes. It'll just take a minute, sweetheart." I followed Linda into the hallway. She pulled me into the spare bedroom and closed the door. Her hands were still shaking as she pulled out her phone. "Mr. McLeod, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have looked. But last week when I was cleaning your daughter's coat, a document fell out. I saw your name on it, and I got worried." She showed me a photo on her phone. It was a legal document, but it wasn't the one sitting on my kitchen table. This one had different language, different terms, and at the bottom, in small print that my aging eyes could barely make out even on the screen, "Upon signing, the principal hereby grants full and irrevocable power of attorney." "That's not what's out there," I said slowly. "The papers on the table are just an advance directive." Claire explained it. "Just instructions for end-of-life care, if something happens to me." Linda shook her head. "Mr. McLeod, I used to work at a law clinic. I helped seniors with their paperwork. That document out there, it looks like an advance directive, but I saw them this morning when you were napping." Marcus was reviewing the papers. "The top 3 pages are the directive, but underneath," she scrolled through more photos on her phone. "Underneath are POA documents, power of attorney, full financial control." The room felt smaller suddenly, colder. "That's not possible. Claire's a lawyer herself. She wouldn't." "She's a lawyer," Linda interrupted gently. "She knows exactly what she's doing. And that notary coming? I heard them on the phone. They said they owed Marcus a favor. This isn't a neutral witness, Mr. McLeod. This is someone who'll testify you were of sound mind when you signed away everything." I sat down, hard, on the bed. My daughter, my only child, the little girl I'd taught to ride a bike in Nose Hill Park, who I'd put through law school at U of C, who I'd walked down the aisle at the Fairmont Palliser 3 years ago. Why? The word came out broken. Linda's face was full of pity. "I don't know for sure, but I've heard them talking these past weeks, about the house, about your pension, about how much the property's worth now. Calgary's market is crazy, Mr. McLeod. Your house in Mount Royal? It's worth $3 million. Easy. Maybe more. $3 million. Martha and I had bought this place in 1989 for $200,000. Seemed like a fortune then. Now it was just our home, the place where we'd raised Claire, where Martha had died in our bedroom 18 months ago, holding my hand." "What do I do?" I asked. Linda took a deep breath. "I think you should tell them you need time to read everything carefully, that you want your own lawyer to review it. A real lawyer, not the notary they picked. If they're legitimate, they'll understand. If they're not, they'll push harder." She nodded. I stood up, feeling every one of my 67 years in my knees. "Linda, if you're wrong about this, then I'll pack my things and go, and I'll deserve to. But Mr. McLeod," her eyes met mine. "I had a client at the clinic once. Nice old man, Polish immigrant. His son did exactly this. By the time we figured it out, the son had emptied his bank accounts and sold his condo. The man died in a city shelter 6 months later." Her voice broke. "I can't let that happen again. I won't." I walked back to the kitchen. Claire and Marcus both looked up, their expressions carefully neutral now. Dad, everything okay? Claire's voice was honey-sweet. Actually, no. I need to have my own lawyer look at these papers before I sign anything. The temperature in the room dropped 20 degrees. Dad, Claire's smile was gone. We've been through this. These are standard documents. I'm a lawyer, remember? I wouldn't put you at risk. I know, sweetheart. But it's a big decision. I want Tom to look at them. Tom Richardson, you remember him? Worked with me at Suncor, went to law school later. He specializes in estate planning now. Marcus's jaw tightened. Claire's already reviewed these thoroughly, Robert. Having another lawyer involved will just delay things and cost you money. It's my money, I said quietly. And my decision. Claire stood up abruptly. This is about her, isn't it? She pointed toward the hallway where Linda had disappeared. That nurse has been filling your head with paranoid nonsense. Dad, I'm trying to protect you. After your heart attack, if something happens and you can't make decisions, someone needs to be able to. Then we'll do it properly, I interrupted, with my own legal counsel. If everything's legitimate, Tom will confirm it, and I'll sign. If there's any issue, we'll fix it. That's reasonable, isn't it? The look that passed between Claire and Marcus lasted maybe 3 seconds. But in those 3 seconds, I saw something that made my heart ache. It was calculation. Cold, pure calculation. Of course, Dad, Claire said finally, her voice tight. If you don't trust your own daughter, then by all means, get a second opinion. She started gathering up the papers. I didn't say I don't trust you. You don't have to say it. She shoved the documents into her briefcase. Come on, Marcus. We're clearly not wanted here. Claire, don't. But she was already at the door. Marcus followed, shooting one poisonous look at Linda, who'd reappeared in the kitchen doorway. We'll call you later, Dad, Claire said. When you've come to your senses. The door slammed hard enough to rattle the pictures on the wall. I stood there in my kitchen, feeling like I'd just stepped into an alternate universe. The coffee maker was still burbling. The morning sun was still streaming through the window overlooking my garden, but nothing felt real anymore. Mr. McLeod, Linda said softly, I think you should call your friend right now, before they have time to. Time to what? I don't know. But people who do this, they're not going to just walk away. She was right, of course. I called Tom Richardson. He could see me that afternoon. I spent the morning in a daze, going through the motions. Linda made me lunch, though I barely tasted it. She kept glancing at her phone, nervous. Are you worried? I asked finally. Yes, she admitted. Mr. McLeod, I'm on a work visa. I came from the Philippines 5 years ago. If your daughter reports me, says I interfered with family business, or that I stole something. She trailed off. I hadn't thought of that. Linda had risked everything to warn me, and I barely knew her. She was just the nurse the agency had sent. We'd talked about her kids back in Manila, about her favorite Filipino restaurant on 17th Avenue, about how much she missed the weather back home. But she'd risked her entire life in Canada to protect me. I won't let anything happen to you, I promised. She smiled sadly. You're a kind man, Mr. McLeod, but you don't know what people with money and lawyers can do to people like me. Tom Richardson's office was downtown, with a view of the Calgary Tower. He was my age, maybe a year younger, with gray hair and the kind of steady demeanor that came from 30 years of dealing with difficult people. Robert, he said, shaking my hand. Good to see you. Sorry about the circumstances. I handed him the papers Claire had left, also the photos Linda had taken of the other documents. Tom spread them across his desk and started reading. His expression didn't change, but I saw his jaw tighten. After 20 minutes, he looked up. Robert, this is bad. How bad? The documents on the table, the ones you were about to sign, they look like standard advance directives. Medical power of attorney, end-of-life wishes, that sort of thing. But he tapped one of the papers. Page 4 has a clause that references additional attached documents, as per Schedule A. Schedule A wasn't on the table, was it? No. But your nurse's photos show Schedule A. And Schedule A is a full financial power of attorney. Once you signed the main document, you'd be signing everything attached to it, including Schedule A, which gives your daughter and son-in-law complete control over all your assets, your bank accounts, your property, your pensions, everything. The room tilted slightly. Can they do that? Just slip extra papers in? Not legally, no. But if you had signed, proving you didn't know about Schedule A would be difficult. The notary would testify you appeared competent and willing. Your daughter's a lawyer, so the court would assume she explained everything properly. And by the time you realized what happened, he shook his head. By the time you realized they could have already sold your house, transferred your accounts, locked you out of everything. What about my health? I'm fine now. The heart attack was mild. Tom's face was grim. Robert, there's another clause in here. It allows them to petition for guardianship if they deem you no longer capable of managing your own affairs. All they'd need is a doctor to say you showed signs of confusion or memory loss. In Alberta, temporary guardianship can be granted pretty quickly if there's an immediate safety concern. I don't have memory loss. But you're 67. You had a heart attack. You live alone. All they'd need to do is establish a pattern. Maybe you forget an appointment. Maybe you leave the stove on once. Maybe your blood pressure medication makes you dizzy and you fall. Suddenly, there's a case that you need supervision. And guess who's already positioned as your attorney? Guess who gets to make all the decisions? I felt sick. My own daughter. I'm sorry, Robert. I truly am. But this isn't an accident. This is a carefully planned financial exploitation scheme, and it's more common than you'd think. Elder abuse by family members is one of the fastest growing crimes in Canada. What do I do? Tom leaned back in his chair. First, you need to protect yourself immediately. We're going to draft new documents today. A proper advance directive with your actual wishes. A limited POA that gives someone you trust not Claire authority to pay bills if you're incapacitated, but nothing more. And a clear statement that any previous documents you may have signed under duress are void. What about Claire? What about her? Should I report this? To the police? To the Law Society? Tom was quiet for a moment. That's up to you. The evidence your nurse gathered is strong. This could cost Claire her law license. It could result in criminal charges. But Robert, she's your daughter. That's a bell you can't unring. I thought about that. About Claire as a little girl, climbing into my lap with her picture books. Claire at her law school graduation, beaming with pride. Claire at Martha's funeral, sobbing in my arms. When had it changed? When had my daughter become someone who'd do this? I need time to think, I said. You don't have much time. Once Claire realizes you're not signing, she and Marcus will adjust their strategy. They might try to have you committed for psychiatric evaluation. They might claim you're being manipulated by your caregiver. They might even file for emergency guardianship based on your heart condition. How do I stop them? You beat them to it. You establish your competency. You get your doctor to formally assess you and document that you're of sound mind. You surround yourself with trustworthy people who can testify on your behalf. And you make it very, very clear that you know what Claire was trying to do. Over the next week, that's exactly what I did. Dr. Patel, my cardiologist, did a full assessment. Cognitive function, memory, decision-making capacity. I passed everything. He wrote a detailed letter confirming I was fully competent to manage my own affairs. I visited my bank and put alerts on all my accounts. Changed my passwords. Added two-factor authentication. I met with a financial advisor, Tom recommended, and moved my assets into a trust structure that would prevent anyone from accessing them without going through multiple legal hoops. And I documented everything. Every conversation, every document, every piece of evidence. Claire called on day 3. Her voice was sugar-sweet again. Dad, I'm so sorry about how I reacted. You were right to get a second opinion. That was smart. Can we meet for coffee? I'd like to explain the documents properly. I don't think so, Claire. Silence on the other end. Then, Dad, what did Tom Richardson tell you? He told me the truth, which is that you tried to steal everything from me. I heard her breath catch. Dad, that's a misunderstanding. Those documents were for your protection. Schedule A wasn't about protection, Claire. It was about control. Another long silence. When she spoke again, her voice was different, harder. You don't understand what you're doing. Marcus and I were trying to help you. You're not well, Dad. Your memory is going. Last month you forgot your doctor's appointment. You left the stove on twice. You're a danger to yourself. I didn't forget any appointment. And I never left the stove on. That's because you don't remember. That's the whole point. Dad, you need someone to look after you. And if you won't let us do it willingly, then we'll have to do it through the courts. Claire, don't. I'm filing for guardianship, Dad, for your own safety. My lawyer says with your medical history and your age, we have a strong case, especially when we document how you've been influenced by that nurse. Did you know she has a criminal record? Theft from a previous employer. We found it in a background check. My blood went cold. That's not true. It will be, Claire said coldly. By the time we're done, it will be very true. And you'll be in a nice facility where they can take proper care of you. Somewhere safe. Somewhere without access to your bank accounts or your house or anything you might hurt yourself with. She hung up. I stood there, shaking. Then I called Tom. She's going nuclear, I told him. She's filing for guardianship, and she's going to plant evidence against Linda. Can you prove she threatened you? No, I didn't record the call. From now on, you record everything. Alberta's a one-party consent province. If you're part of the conversation, you can record it without telling the other person. Do you understand? Yes. Good. Because this is about to get ugly. He wasn't wrong. The next morning, Linda called me in tears. Mr. McLeod, the agency fired me. They said there were complaints about my work, about things missing from your house, about inappropriate behavior. That's nonsense. I know. But they won't listen. And Mr. McLeod, Immigration Enforcement, called me. They want to interview me about my work visa. Someone filed a report saying I'm working illegally. I felt rage building in my chest. Where are you now? At my apartment. I'm scared, Mr. McLeod. If they deport me, my kids back home. She couldn't finish. Linda, I need you to do something for me. I need you to go to Tom Richardson's office. Right now. Can you do that? Why? Because you're going to be my witness. And possibly my attorney, depending on how this plays out. But first, we need to protect you. Tom has contacts at immigration. We're going to sort this out. By afternoon, Linda was sitting in Tom's office with an immigration lawyer. The deportation threat was based on a fraudulent complaint from an anonymous source that Tom's contact was able to trace back to Marcus's phone number. The agency firing was based on a complaint from a concerned family member. All of it was fabricated. All of it was meant to isolate me. They're following a playbook, Tom explained. Step 1, gain control of your finances. That failed. Step 2, isolate you from anyone who might help you. Step 3, establish you're incompetent. Step 4, institutionalize you. How do we stop Step 3? We make it impossible for them to prove incompetence. And we go on offense. That's when Tom told me the plan. It was aggressive. It would destroy my relationship with Claire forever. But at this point, I wasn't sure there was a relationship left to save. We filed a police report documenting the fraud attempt. We filed a complaint with the Law Society of Alberta regarding Claire's professional conduct. We filed for a restraining order based on her threat to institutionalize me against my will. And we went public. Tom had a contact at the Calgary Herald, a reporter who specialized in elder abuse cases. She'd been looking for a story like this, something to highlight how common financial exploitation was. I gave her an interview, told her everything, the documents, the threats, the attempts to silence Linda. I didn't use Claire's name, but anyone who knew us would be able to figure it out. The story ran on the front page of the local section. Calgary engineer nearly lost everything to financial exploitation scheme. The perpetrators? His own family. My phone rang for 2 days straight. Former colleagues offering support. Neighbors I barely knew checking if I was okay. A lawyer from the Crown Prosecutor's office asking if I'd be willing to discuss pressing charges. And finally, Claire. She showed up at my door on a Tuesday morning. She looked terrible. Dark circles under her eyes. Her hair, usually perfectly styled, pulled back in a messy ponytail. She was crying. Dad, please. Can we talk? I'd installed a security camera over the weekend. Tom's advice. Everything was being recorded now. What do you want, Claire? I want to explain. This wasn't. Marcus said it was just paperwork. He said we were protecting you. I didn't know about Schedule A, I swear. I didn't know he'd planned all that. You're a lawyer, Claire. You read those documents. I skimmed them. Marcus is the financial expert. He said he'd handle the details. Dad, I was just trying to make sure you were taken care of. Mom died. You had a heart attack. I was so scared of losing you too. Part of me wanted to believe her, wanted to think my daughter had just been naive, had trusted the wrong person, had made a terrible mistake. But Tom had been very clear. People who commit elder abuse often play the victim when they're caught. They claim they didn't understand, they were manipulated, they were only trying to help. Don't buy it. If it was just Marcus, I said slowly, why did you threaten to have me institutionalized? Why did you go after Linda? Claire's face crumpled. Because I was scared. You chose her over me. Some stranger over your own daughter. I was angry and hurt, and I said things I didn't mean. Did you mean them when you tried to have her deported? Silence. That was Marcus, she whispered finally. You let him. You stood by while he did it. Claire, that woman risked everything to protect me. And you tried to destroy her life to cover up your crime. It wasn't a crime. You were stealing from me. You were planning to lock me up and take everything Martha and I built. Everything we saved for 42 years of marriage. Our home, our retirement, everything. Claire sank down onto my porch step. I'm so sorry. Dad, I'm so sorry. It started small. Marcus was having trouble with his business. We borrowed against our house. But it wasn't enough. He said your house could help us. Just a loan, using it as collateral. Then it escalated. He said if you gave us POA, we could restructure things, save money on taxes. It made sense at the time. But then, she looked up at me with Martha's eyes. Then I couldn't stop it. He kept pushing for more control, more access, and I was in too deep to back out. You could have told me. Would you have helped? If I'd just asked? I thought about that. Yes, if you'd been honest. If you'd explained you were in trouble. But this? Claire, you were going to take my freedom, not just my money. My freedom? I know. She was sobbing now. I know, and I'll never forgive myself. Dad, Marcus is gone. I left him. I'm meeting with a lawyer today to start divorce proceedings, and I'm going to resign from the Law Society before they disbar me. I'm going to accept whatever consequences come. But please, please don't hate me. You're all I have left. I looked at my daughter, the little girl who used to bring me dandelions from the yard, who I'd taught to read, who I'd been so proud of when she graduated top of her class. And I saw a stranger. I don't hate you, Claire, I said finally. But I don't trust you, and I can't have you in my life. Not now, maybe not ever. Dad, I think you should go. She stood up slowly, wiping her eyes. Can I at least know you're okay? Can you just text me once a week so I know you're alive? I thought about saying no, about cutting her off completely, but there was still a part of me, a stupid, father-shaped part, that couldn't quite do it. Once a month, I said, I'll send you one text a month. That's all I can handle right now. She nodded, fresh tears streaming down her face. Thank you. That's more than I deserve. She walked to her car. At the last moment, she turned back. Linda saved your life, Dad. Tell her I'm sorry. Tell her thank you. Then she was gone. The legal fallout took months. Marcus faced criminal charges for fraud and attempted exploitation of a vulnerable adult. He pleaded guilty as part of a deal and got 18 months, plus probation. He was also ordered to pay restitution, though Tom said we'd probably never see much of that money. Claire wasn't charged criminally, but the Law Society suspended her license for 5 years. She could apply for reinstatement after that, but with this on her record, Tom said it was unlikely she'd practice law again. The immigration complaint against Linda was dismissed once the truth came out. The nursing agency even offered her job back, though she declined. She'd had enough of home care, she said. Too much drama. Instead, she enrolled in a continuing education program at Mount Royal University. Wanted to become a full RN, maybe work in a hospital where people couldn't threaten her for doing the right thing. I paid for her tuition. It was the least I could do. As for me, I kept living in my house in Mount Royal. Tom set up the trust properly this time, with independent trustees and clear instructions. When I die, half goes to charity. The other half is split between distant cousins in Saskatchewan, who I barely know but who've never tried to steal from me. Claire gets nothing. And I'm at peace with that. I get coffee with Tom once a week now. We talk about politics, about our health issues, about the Flames' perpetual mediocrity. He's become a good friend. Linda comes by every couple of weeks too. Brings me Filipino food from her favorite restaurant. We eat together, and she tells me about her nursing classes, about her kids back home, about her plans for the future. One evening, after she'd left, I sat in my living room looking at the photo of Martha on the mantel. Wondered what she'd think of all this. Her daughter, her only child. Love, I said to the picture. I tried to be a good father. I don't know where I went wrong. But maybe that was the wrong question. Maybe the right question was, when did Claire stop being my daughter and start being someone else? Someone who saw me as an asset to be liquidated, rather than a person to be loved. I'll probably never know the answer, and maybe that's okay. I'm 67 years old. I survived oil rigs, heart attacks, and my own child trying to destroy me. I'm still here, still standing, still independent. And every morning, when I wake up in my own bed, in my own house, master of my own life, I remember Linda's voice. Mr. McLeod, please don't sign that yet. One moment, one decision to listen. That's all it took to save everything. I send Claire her monthly text. Just 3 words. I'm doing fine. She never responds. Maybe someday she will. Maybe someday we'll find a way back to each other. But not today. Today, I'm just grateful to be alive, to be free, and to be surrounded by people who actually care whether I'm okay. That's more than a lot of people my age can say. And it's enough.